This is your Daily 5 for Thursday, August 13th, 2026. After the Sony announcement of their plan to end physical discs in 2028, there have been subsequent statements from different individuals at different companies, basically alluding to the fact that not only do they want to get rid of physical discs, but they also envision a future, and I don't remember which CEO said this, but it's been said on and off for years, going back to like Google Stadia, that, don't worry about digital purchases because you're not even going to purchase anything in the future. You're just going to stream all your games and play them over the internet somehow, which seems dubious with the size that games currently are, and you would imagine will get even larger as it goes on. So the only way that does seem viable for people who do not have a top-tier business class connection is that they would take a massive performance or graphical hit, which seems counterintuitive to paying a lot of money for a game if you're not even getting all the technical benefits. But even putting that aside, the thing that's interesting about all these statements, and we're seeing this as far as this, we're just going to do everything streaming in the future, is a lot of the justification that has been used for ditching physical has been this idea that younger people just buy everything digitally and they're not used to buying physical. They don't care. They're perfectly happy to buy something digitally through a digital store. And I don't disagree that that's probably the majority of people, or at least the majority of certain segments of people across anything when it comes to entertainment, music, movies, video games, TV, whatever. Most younger people came up going digital first, and that makes sense. But the thing that will be interesting is to see how long that remains the way it is, because what we're seeing in concert with all these announcements being, again, rationalized by the idea that most people are digital first. On the other side, we are seeing more and more examples of why going pure digital is going to bite you in the end if you want to have something in perpetuity or own something. And that is, there's been story after story, but the most recent one you may have seen was somebody who had bought the Lord of the Rings trilogy through, I believe it was the Google Play video store, movie store. I've never bought any videos or movies through Google, so I'm not sure what it's called. But in any event, Google lost the license or chose not to pay for it, I'm sure, which they easily could, I would bet. And so this individual lost access to their Lord of the Rings movies, went to complain. Of course, there's no people to complain to at Google. And so they got a response from a bot saying, yeah, sorry, we lost the license and, you never really owned it, so we're not going to give you your money back. Even though this individual purchased these things under the idea that because they paid for the movies, they would have access to them as long as they had a Google account. And, there's no payment lapse or anything. They weren't renting them constantly. These were purchased. The idea with this was they were not rentals. They were purchases. But of course, the word purchases in the digital economy has a giant asterisk next to it where it's like, well, yeah, you kind of purchased it, but you didn't really. What you did was a one-time long-term rental until we decided to terminate the agreement. And at that point, almost nobody's going to give you any money back because nothing long after you've bought it will you ever get the full amount for back, but they basically look at it as, hey, you agreed to the terms of service and you're done. Bye. And so what this makes me wonder is, yes, lots of younger people are comfortable with buying digital first because they seem to think, and probably for a long time, there was a permanence involved that gave the illusion of ownership. But what happens if you start seeing that things that you bought are suddenly not there anymore? I don't think you're going to be so inclined to do digital purchasing. What you're probably going to do, and what you are seeing a lot of people saying is, hey, if I can't own it, then I can't pirate it either. Meaning if I just go get it from somewhere, that's perfectly fine. And I'm sure that once that hits a critical mass, something is going to change. Either people are going to say, well, I'm not going to buy something if I don't actually own it because I don't think I should have to keep rebuying something, especially with movies or TV, something that you don't constantly reuse or revisit. You might want to at some point. You might do it on some semi-frequent basis. But the idea that you would have to keep buying movies over and over and over to rewatch them, that is essentially a rental. And so unless we're going to go rental only for everything, and maybe that's the idea, I am curious how long this idea that, people are happier using digital is going to last if they start seeing more and more of their things just vanishing and they start to understand that, in fact, buying something is not buying something. It's just a more expensive rental, which I don't think is something that everybody's going to be comfortable with in the long term. But I guess we'll see. Later.